What's up, witches?
What's up?
I'm Linda Hurd.
And I'm John Kane.
And this is Getting Witchy. And today is our Yule/Christmas episode.
12th episode.
Yes. So, happy, merry, blessed Yule, which is today.
And happy Christmas and Merry New Year.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
So, today we are going to be talking all about Yule.
Well, I don't know about all about. Like, there's a lot of fucking information out there, y'all.
There is.
There's so much information out there. And unfortunately, of all the sources, and we had like a total of 7 different sources, at least. Like off the top of my head,
Yep.
I can think of 7 that I could name. But, or rather, even though they said similar things, each one of them had something extra to add.
Right.
Freaking insane. Like,
right.
how much information is out there. So we're going to do our best. But for those of you that like to cheat and go ahead, move it, ahead. Bottom line is Christmas came from Yule. It's a pagan holiday.
Which I think everybody already knew anyway.
Wow.
Except for the super...
Everybody does not realize that. They think that the reason for the season is the only reason for the holiday.
Yeah. And by the way, Jesus is not the reason for the season. He was born in spring.
Yeah, there's that too. There's quite a bit of evidence of when he was born. But anyway, so Yule was originally celebrated, according to the information that we've been able to find. Everybody agrees it was a Norse/Scandinavian holiday or festival. Not even a holiday. It was a festival. It lasted anywhere from 12 days, the 12 days of Christmas, to basically a month and a freaking half. Like mid-November to like the first or second week of January.
Right.
Almost 2 months, actually.
Right.
But, then it kind of morphed into... Probably because of intermarriage and intermarriage. The Germanic tribes picked up on it. They created, or because of the Germanic tribes, was it the Yule log or was that Celtic? Everybody's heard of the Yule log. Right. There's the Yule/Christmas tree, the Yule log, mistletoe. Mistletoe has its own amazing story behind it.
Yes, it does.
It's actually, anyway. What were some of the others? The 12 Days of Christmas.
Right.
Yule log, mistletoe, trees.
The whole caroling.
The
wassailing.
Caroling was wassailing originally in the medieval times or after medieval times. Not quite Renaissance, but whatever. Drunkenness. That's basically what it fucking was. It was a blend of various things that they called a nog. Eggnog. And people would get trashed on this shit and wander through the streets. It was described by 2 of the sources as adult Halloween or adult trick-or-treat.
Trick-or-treating.
Like, they would get trashed and knock on doors and basically say, give us some shit, dude. Give us something. A treat, a drink.
Right.
Or we're gonna do some shit you ain't gonna like. I mean,
right.
And we both agree we should have wassailing today.
Yeah,
although,
why don't we do a wassailing?
Well, because they would turn it into a purge.
Probably would.
Let's be realistic. We have some twisted individuals out there.
True.
I mean, there's a reason I hate people. Anyway.
Yes, and I just realized today why I hate people.
I
had a really rough customer today who reamed me out because I could not sell her Legos because our system listed them as unsellable because there is a recall on them. But yet, somehow that's my fault that they were on the floor.
But we're not going to talk about this.
But whatever.
We're not going to talk about this.
No, we're not going to talk about this. We're done talking
anyway,
about this.
So Yule was celebrated originally by the Norse and Scandinavians, arguably the same people, but they were separate at one point. Anyway, it went from a 2-month to a 12-day celebration. Basically, Yule is a winter festival celebrating the solstice, the winter solstice, which was today.
Yes.
Yuletide is basically means the time of Yule, which interestingly now we say Christmas time. We don't say Christmas tide, but
well, no, but in some of if you listen
excuse me, guys, sorry.
to some of the Christmas songs from like the 50s, 60s, 70s, they still mention Yuletide.
Oh yeah.
But nobody ever says what it means.
Then at some point the Celts,
your people,
my people, got involved in it, and there are differing points of view whether the Christmas tree came from the Norse or it came from the Celts, because the Celts worshipped trees. There was the holy oak.
Right. They did have the whole 12 or 13, actually, I think it was, the sacred trees.
Yes.
Of the zodiac.
And placing, in later times, placing candles on the branches, which is insane to me. Could you just imagine doing, like, no. That bitch would burn down. Anyway. No, with the Celts, I think it was that they did like a communal tree, and everybody in the village contributed to decorating it. I could be look, dude. They're dudettes and dudes. There's so much fucking information. We spent 4 or 5 days.
I think it was 5.
5 days researching separately Christmas and Yule. And so much of the information was intermingled and not really in any coherent order. I assure you that for next Yule, I'm starting in fucking October to like piece everything together, because it's so overwhelming how much information there is.
It is.
Bottom line is, there was an Egyptian god, Horus. I'm sure you're familiar with him from movies, comics, and history. Who was born around... Huh?
Stargate.
Oh, yeah, Stargate. Don't get me started on Stargate.
I know, baby, I know.
There's Star Wars, then there's Stargate, and then there's Star Trek. Well, no. Star Wars, Star Trek, Stargate. What?
Okay.
At least it's in the top 2. She's a Trekkie. Yes, Horus was born on around the 25th. There was also, there was a Greek god that was born on the 25th.
Roman, his name was Mithras.
Mithras.
Who was born on the 21st, if I recall correctly.
The solstice.
And that's pretty much where Christmas gets the date from. But
between those two.
Well, yeah. But there's also, I mean, if you look at it,
Saturnalia.
There's Saturnalia, which was always celebrated on the solstice, but you also have the solstice. And if I recall correctly, the Celts and the Druids celebrated midwinter, which was always on or around December 21st or 22nd.
Right.
So when the church tried to take over Europe, they basically
You
said...
mean when they did?
Well, I mean, yes, when they did, because unfortunately they succeeded. But yes, when they took over Europe, basically what they told the pagans was, you have to be Christian, but when it comes to Christmas, the birth of our God, who was not even born around the same time, it's going to be on this date, December 25th, which was decided on by Pope Julius I, if I remember correctly, back in the 4th century. Now, here's the thing, though. When the church decided to institute the birthday of Christ as a holy day, the Bible does not list a specific date. It does give clues, such as the fact that the shepherds were in the fields. Which
they're not going to be in the fields in winter.
Which they're not going to be in winter. But they would be in spring. The Puritans even pointed that out. They pointed out the fact that there is no definitive date listed in the Bible as a way of their ability to say, we're not going to do this. Because there's no legitimacy to it, because the Bible doesn't actually say when he was born.
Right.
So they use that as a way of saying, yeah, we're not going to do that. But yeah, the church decided on December 25th, Pope Julius I, and in the 4th century, by the year 432 AD, BC, or CE, whichever one you want to, whether it's Anno Domini or Common Era, whichever one you want to follow, it was the year 432. It finally reached Egypt, and then it got to England by the end of the 6th century.
Well, another interesting play on words that I found is that even though many sources, including Cosmopolitan.com, and I don't know if it's the magazine or not,
Probably is.
States that Yule was first celebrated in like the 5th century. I don't agree with that. It's a lot older than that.
It has to be a lot older than that.
Just like shamanism, like, you're going to say there were only shamans around the 5th century?
No.
Basically teachers and healers and leaders of the tribe that were magicians? No.
No, shamans have existed since the beginning of time.
But one of the things that I found in multiple sources was that the Yule, or solstice, was to celebrate and recognize the rebirth of the sun, because the days got longer and the nights started to get longer and the nights started to get shorter.
Right. Because Yule is the longest night of the year. It
was the rebirth of the sun.
Yes.
And then December 25th for Christians was the birth of the sun.
Of God.
I just find that an interesting play on words.
Yes.
Celebrating the rebirth of the sun, and here is the birth of their son, of God. I mean, all the little nuances. That's what I'm saying. Like, there is so much freaking information out there. It's insane. And yes, I'm reading between the lines, but I'm not making shit up. I'm not pulling it out of my ass. It was a fact that they celebrated the rebirth of the sun. It is a fact that Christmas, December 25th, is the celebration of the birth of the Son of God, the Christ, according to their beliefs. Like, I'm not making that up. It's just an interesting little play on words that the church did and how they assimilated everybody. Anyway, okay.
So, I mean, if you go back to like ancient Greece and Rome, they had Saturnalia, which was a holiday in honor of Saturn, who was the god of agriculture. basically him coming back because
Right, because spring is about to come.
Right, spring is coming.
And life is going to return to the valley.
The worst of winter is behind them, so they're celebrating that, hey, we survived. And they would celebrate for like a full month.
Oh, yeah.
And we're not just talking about like, you know, oh, hey, yay, let's decorate. No, they were getting drunk.
They were getting trashed.
They were, yeah.
You've seen me, well, you've seen us both a little drunk, but they were getting shit-faced.
Food and drink was plentiful. Enslaved people were allowed temporary freedom. And
Pretty
they were
much do whatever the fuck they wanted for that brief period of time.
And they were treated as equals. Businesses and schools were closed down so that everybody could participate in the festivities. But they also, in ancient Rome at the same time, had something called Juvenalia, where they were celebrating the children of Rome. Which, I mean, I didn't really find much about that, but...
No, I didn't either.
During that time, you know, the upper classes celebrated the birth of Mithras, who was the god of unconquerable sun, who, I mean, up until now, I had never heard
the god of the unconquerable sun.
Sun.
I get it, but
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, who was believed to be an infant god born of a rock.
A rock. Sorry.
Born of a rock.
Okay.
And for many of the upper class, like the day of his birth or the anniversary of his birth was considered to be a very sacred holiday. And there were some shenanigans going on.
Yes, there was.
You know, like the poor could go or the servants could go and knock on the doors of the upper class or their masters and demand food and drink. And they had to provide it.
Yeah, they couldn't refuse. Or they would be fined. Was it fined?
Yeah, they could be fined, but also by providing it, it was a way of erasing any real or imagined karmic debts they may have. So if you know you're a bad person,
you're giving all kinds of shit away.
And somebody comes in,
which it's amazing. So many people buy so much stuff on Christmas time. Like it's still a thing. Like if I give. I won't talk about work. But I find it interesting how some people will just buy hundreds and hundreds of dollars for somebody they don't know. Mm-hmm. And it could just be charity. Right. Or charitable. But as an empath, I know better.
Well, see, and like one of the orders I had today was like everything that they bought was for like the Christmas angels.
I've got a couple of those.
And we're talking like almost $900.
Oh, I know. These people are insane. Like how much, and they think the salvation. They think the organization that is putting this on is going to give all that to one kid. Anyway.
Well, I mean, at least the person I had was buying for multiple kids, but it's.
Anyway, so another aspect
why not be charitable all year?
Yeah, there's that too. So another aspect of Christmas / Yule are reindeer. Now, would you believe me if I told you that the concept of reindeer actually came from Norse beliefs of Thor being led by his Yule goats? Yes, just like in the frickin' movie, that is actual mythology, he had a chariot that was led by goats, 2 specific goats. Now, Woden, or Odin, was the father god. So that is where some believe the concept of Santa may have kind of its origins began, and then being pulled by goats / reindeer. Magic goats, magic reindeer. Like, it's amazing where the, oh yes,
So that should be a goat.
Technically, yeah, Rudolph should be a goat. She's wearing Christmas, Christmas pajamas of reindeer. But, so, for mistletoe, yeah, I'm just going to end that one there because there is so much info, and we could have an entire 15-minute conversation on the magic goats. And I'm not talking about Cheech and Chong. Give a little magic dust to the reindeer. Give a little bit more to Santa Claus. Give a little bit more to Santa Claus. To make them fly. If you've never heard that before, you need to Google Cheech and Chong's Christmas song. You've never heard it? I know you've heard it. I've played it in your presence.
Was I paying attention?
I would hope so. The frick. Anyway, mistletoe. Mistletoe was greatly revered by the Druids and Celts. It did not need to root in the ground to survive. It received its nutrients. Just from its surroundings and the bark of the tree that it was on.
It's a parasite. No, it
technically it is. But there may be a symbiotic thing. It may offer something to the tree. Anyway, so if it was found in the sacred oak tree, the Druids would have a ceremony where they would cut it down with a golden sickle and then catch it in a white cloth before it touched the ground. It's sacred. It cannot touch the ground. Kind of like we view our American flag, or most people view their country's flags. They don't touch the ground.
Yeah, it's considered bad luck if it touches the ground. The mistletoe.
So then a piece of mistletoe would be given to each home in the village to bring, prosperity, protection, and good health. One of the things that, like, it stayed green all year round, even when the tree died off during fall and winter. It had red and white berries. There is a myth behind the white berries, something about the tears of a goddess or something like that. There's so much fucking information out there, like, seriously. It's actually quite interesting. I found that and the goat mythos very, very interesting. I was like, oh, reindeer. But yeah, and there was also more to the mistletoe as far as first kiss or first love. There's a lot more to it, and I don't remember all of it because there's so fucking much. I was getting a headache trying to figure out, and we hadn't even started drinking when we were doing this research.
Okay.
So we got the pagan gods born from the solstice to the 25th.
Right.
The craziness with the flying reindeer.
Mm-hmm.
Yule logs.
Oh, right. That was
Well, that was more of a...
That was more Celtic, I think.
a Celtic thing.
If I recall correctly.
But they would chop down a tree, basically, probably about this fucking big around.
Right.
Okay.
Bring it into the home and burn it, and it would usually take about 12 days for all of it to burn.
Again, the 12 days of Christmas. But the crazy thing to me is the way it was described in multiple sources is that they wouldn't cut the log up. They would put the whole motherfucker in the fireplace, or what they called hearth. And then as it burned down, they would move it.
Right. And
that's crazy. But we talked about this last night. Like, fire don't play.
No.
We've talked about this in the
fire episode.
Fire episode. Like, and trees have sap.
Yes.
Which can't, I know, don't be as smart, Ellie. Of course they do. But that can be a flammable substance. So if a string of sap were to catch on fire and the fire lead to a piece of the Yule log that's 4 foot away from the hearth, like the whole place is going down. I just can't imagine if what the information we found is true, or at least semi-accurate, that seems insane to me.
Well, it seems insane to put candles on an evergreen tree, but, you know.
But they did it.
Especially one that you've chopped down and pulled into your house, because it's not alive anymore.
No. Which is, I think, maybe why the Celts eventually just did a communal. And they didn't chop it down. It was just a tree that was...
Oh, but they would also use dried fruits, like dried oranges and stuff.
Oh,
to decorate.
And wreaths. Wreaths, all that with the fucking green around your fireplace and wreaths hanging at your door and above the fireplace. That's all Celtic. Sorry.
Yes.
It's not Christian.
But my point was that the foods that were used to decorate the trees were seen as sacrifices to the sun god.
Oh, that just talk about sacrifices. There was so in ancient times during Yule, just like in Passover, this is the way the source worded it.
Okay.
There were blood sacrifices of whatever animals you had.
Oh, okay.
Cattle, goats, birds, sheep. But this mother lover would paint the pillars of the altar, the sacrificial altar, with the blood. And then he got bathed in the blood himself. Right. So at the end of the ceremony for this particular reveler that was sacrificing these animals, he painted the pillars of the altar and the altar in blood, and he bathed in the blood. So just like washed in the blood of the sacrifice, which is what Christ is supposed to have been. And I know if you've gone to any freaking church ever in your life, you heard about being washed in the blood of Christ or washed in the blood of the sacrifice.
True.
So, again, a very interesting connection that, I'm sorry, I'm kind of like, who is it? Gibbs from NCIS. There are no coincidences. So that's what I'm saying. There's more. I know there's more. I guarantee you there's more, but I'm a little buzzed right now. And there is so much. We didn't do our normal preparation for this because there was so much information that I tried for 2 days? 3 days? 2 days?
2 days.
To put together the bullet points. And I got overwhelmed because of all that. Like, where do I frickin' begin? Christmas is Yule. But Yule is not Christmas.
Right.
You have Christmas because of Yule.
And for those of you who didn't know, Christmas did not become a federal U.S. holiday until the year 1870. And it was actually outlawed in the UK for quite some time.
Was it because of us? The Americans?
No.
No, I mean, we were at odds for each other for like 100 years there.
Yeah, but it had become outlawed, I think, before we became a country. It was outlawed for quite some time. And if I recall correctly, it was because of the rowdiness.
Oh, the wassail.
The wassailing and the raucousness. So, I mean...
Drink your eggnog and be merry.
You know, because people would go to church on Christmas morning, but then...
Christmas night.
They would celebrate as raucously as they wanted, and, you know, it became an issue. And so for quite a while, it was actually outlawed in the UK and here, and then it became a federal holiday in 1870.
Again, there is a shit ton of information out there if you really want to find it. If you or somebody you love wants to be in their little bubble of the Christmas, cool. That's good. More power to you. But the fact remains is Christmas is not a Christian holiday. I'm sorry, Mom, and everybody else that might watch this, but it's not. It is a pagan holiday. It has pagan roots. It is pagan. Period.
But if you are wanting to go down that particular rabbit hole, be prepared. There is a lot of information.
There is.
And it'll make your head spin.
It's so much. It really, it's, to me, everything I read was like, oh my God, that's why they do that. You know, I mean, but ultimately, like putting that all together in a coherent sentence, as you can see, we jumped all over the freaking place. And we both knew we were going to do this because of how much information there was. But it's really fascinating. It's interesting to, even if I can't verbalize it, it's interesting to mentally piece the timeline together of how things happened and how things played out and how we got Santa Claus with reindeer and where the 12 days of Christmas came from, and you know, some things that we still call what Yule logs. There's, I mean, it's still the original name, but it's not explained what a Yule log is. It's a Christmas thing. No, it's not.
Which is, I find, especially interesting because not only do you have the Yule log you burn in the fireplace, but you also have that dessert.
Yes, the French made. Yes. It basically looks like a Swiss roll. You know, those little spiral chocolate covered with the cream layers as
like
well.
Like a rolled up cupcake.
But with the ends cut off and the outside of it, instead of smooth chocolate, it's chocolate chunks to look like tree bark. So the French...
Oh.
Yeah. It's actually a pretty cool... I've not had one, but it looks amazing.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever...
You know, besides the, you know, I mean, you don't have a white chocolate spiral in a fucking tree.
Right.
Branch or bark or trunk. But, I mean, the whole thing, they even had the picture that I saw of the example and what I've seen in restaurants when I worked in restaurants was the log part, but then they'll have like where branches were coming out.
Oh.
But they didn't cut it smooth.
Right.
So there are little branches coming out with little pieces of chocolate cake swirled in whipped cream, and then again it looks like bark, like pine bark, kind of rough. Yeah, I forgot about that. Good call. Oh. But I mean, there's so much information out there.
Yeah, there is.
Dude, it's mind-blowing how much information is out there, but people just don't seem to want to know anything other than what they grew up with.
In your research, wasn't there at least one community that considered Yule to be their New Year?
Yes, that was basically the Norse, I think, or North Scandinavian. They viewed Yule, well, it was the New Year, kind of like we do, because a week later is January 1st. But that was their New Year, whereas with Wiccans and many pagans, October 31st through November 2nd? 7th is the New Year. Well, Samhain, the 31st. But that period of time is when the veil is thinnest between our world and the world of the dead. And they believe that, and since, again, going back to the Norse, Woden, was also the god of the dead, I believe. Mm. So, I mean, he was the god of many things, but he was also the god of the dead. So, since he was the jolly old fat man,
oh, okay,
it was a time when the veil between this world and the next was the thinnest. It was like their Day of the Dead, basically. But yes, that's right. I forgot about, again, there's so much fucking information out there that, yeah, but there's, to put it all in, I have not found anything that puts it all in chronological order.
Well, I don't think there ever will be, because different cultures. Well, because different cultures have their own timelines.
Oh, so true. Some base their timelines on kings. Well, they pretty much all did prior to the Greco-Roman calendar that we use. There was a Julius calendar, but before that, because I did the research on that, like what is our actual fucking date? Right. This is not 2023. I don't care what anybody says. This is not 2023. This is probably 4043. But what is our actual date? And I tried doing my research ended with the Julius calendar, because before that, everything was based on kingship. It is this year in
this particular
king's rule. So you could have hundreds of kings.
Right.
So what's the fucking real timeline?
Well, and the only reason
I know I'm getting off the side. You know me. I get sidetracked.
The only reason that I mentioned that, though, is because when it came to Samhain, mm-hmm. there were some people saying, like, on October 31st, Blessed Samhain or whatever, and other people saying, well, if you actually follow the astronomical calendar, Samhain doesn't happen until November 7th this year. And then Yule is midwinter, like the midpoint between Samhain and whatever. So I think depending on what calendar you're actually following, your date is going to change. If you're following the Gregorian calendar, which is what we use nowadays, then December 21st or 22nd is the date for Yule. I'm not sure what it would be for the astronomical calendar.
Yeah.
But then again, like that.
Who follows that?
But there have been times when I have noticed that, like, the things we celebrate today don't match up to their descriptions.
Right.
Because there are some people who think that December 21st is the first day of winter. No, it's not. It's midwinter.
Right.
It is
first day of winter is in November. Well, sometimes October.
It's the middle point of winter. Whereas Litha is the midpoint of summer.
Right.
You know, so it's like based on whatever calendar you're following, you know, your dates might shift around a little bit, but pretty much every source that we consulted stated that midwinter, Yule, Saturnalia, whatever you want to call it, was basically either the December 21st or 22nd.
Yes, they all said that.
So,
but yeah, there's lots of info out there. I beg you, please, if you are curious at all or just want a good eye-opening laugh, do some research on it. It's hilarious. It's educational. Flying goats became fucking flying reindeers. Well, flying anything besides birds.
Anything that doesn't have wings.
Like, just the whole, it's great. It's awesome. And, you know, realizing how not just Christianity, Catholicism adopted everything. Even this right here, the Tricerta, was adopted by the Catholic Church to represent the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, because it represented the goddess in ancient times, and still does in Celtic views. But anyway, there's a lot of information out there. Enjoy doing your research. I hope you've enjoyed this little video. We've certainly enjoyed it. We do hope you have a very merry Yule, a happy Christmas, and a merry New Year.
Yes. Peace out. Witchy.
You know where to find us on Instagram, Etsy, all that shit. We told you before. So, peace out. Mwah. One love.
Let's go wassailing.
You're still recording.
Oh shit.